And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you would like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, for all the programming we have available for you with our compliments on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. And once again, we're coming to you on, let me see here, Simul Radio, Simul TV. By the way, for Simul TV, we're on Simul TV Channel 21, iHeartRadio, Mutual Broadcast Network, and Talkstar Radio. Let me see, just a reminder that tonight, Tuesday night at 9:30, the X Zone TV show is on Cable 14 here in Hamilton and surrounding area. Later on this month, we are going to start broadcasting on Comcast, the X Zone TV channel, and we're also going to be on iLaunch, the iLaunch network in 50 states, as well as 50 countries. That's the entire X Zone TV channel, so we're really happy, and I'd like to say hello to my good friend Stephen Turner, who is the president and CEO of Simul TV. Hi, Stephen. Always great working with you. It's been a good 7 years, my friend. My guest this hour, X Zone Nation, is a lady we've had the pleasure of having on the show before. Dr. Susan Shumsky is her name. And Dr. Susan has dedicated her life to helping people take command of their lives in highly effective, powerful, positive ways. She is the best-selling author of 13 books published by Simon & Schuster, Random House, and New Page. A pioneer in the human potential field, she has spent nearly 50 years teaching thousands of people meditation, prayer, affirmation, and intuition. Her book titles include Miracle Prayer, Divine Revelation, Exploring Meditation, Exploring Auras, Exploring Chakras, How to Hear Your Voice, How to Hear the Voice of God, Ascension, Instant Healing, The Power of Auras, The Power of Chakras, Awaken Your Third Eye, Awaken Your Divine Intuition, and Color Your Chakras. Dr. Susan is a highly respected spiritual teacher, award-winning author, and founder of Divine Revelation, a unique field-proven technology for contacting the divine presence, hearing and testing the inner voice, and receiving clear divine guidance. For 22 years, her mentor was Maharishi, help me, Susan, Mahesh?
Mahesh.
All right. Yogi, who was the guru of the Beatles and the guru of Deepak Chopra. Dr. Shumsky served on the Maharishi's personal staff for 7 years. And joining me now to discuss one of her books entitled Color Your Chakras is Dr. Susan Shumsky. And Dr. Susan, welcome back to the X Zone. Always great having you with us.
Great to be here.
I asked you this off air, and I have to ask you again after reading your bio. Where do you get time?
Well, I don't. I don't sleep a whole lot.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm very busy.
You are. And, we're grateful that you took time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight, Dr. Susan. Always great talking to you.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Let me start off by asking you this question, Dr. Susan. Over the last, let's say, 10, 15 years, as the Internet has become more and more popular around the world, and people who had no access to the topics that you talk about, the topics that you write about, have you seen a positive swing in society?
I definitely have seen a positive swing, not just since the Internet has appeared, but even since over the last 50 years, I would say, the entire world has increased its vibration, has gone up several notches, and continues to go up vibrationally. In other words, there's just a better atmosphere on the planet, which is more conducive to people having real spiritual experiences. Way back in the 1950s, people really didn't have these kinds of experiences that are becoming quite commonplace now.
That's true.
And meditation is, a lot of people are practicing meditation, and you'll find yoga studios on every corner. You find martial arts everywhere. There's a tremendous proliferation of metaphysical knowledge and wisdom that is just, it's just exploded, especially recently with the Internet, of course. That has really, really made a big difference.
What was it that started you on your path of enlightenment and your desire to make such a positive change in the world, Dr. Susan?
Well, it was the 1960s. I was a hippie.
No.
Those of us who were, I was, those of us who were flower children,
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It was really even more about us experiencing
Right.
altered states of consciousness, higher consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, our gurus were Timothy Leary and Richard Alpert, who wrote the book, The Psychedelic Experience. And they were telling us that we could reach this higher state of consciousness called nirvana. Some people call it satori. In India, they call it moksha or satchidananda. So, these experiences of higher awareness
Mm-hmm.
are available and possible for human beings to attain. But we were trying to do that through LSD, which didn't really work out very well. But finally, I did learn how to meditate, in a real way, and not just taking psychedelics, but really learning the practice of meditation. And that's what really led me, all over the world, studying with my guru, who was the most famous guru of the 20th century, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and just being able to experience these higher states of consciousness.
Susan, did you know at the time that the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was going to be such an influence on so many people as such a very important part of their lives? And I'm talking about the Beatles here. He was a great influence
Yes.
with George Harrison in particular.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the reality is that at the time that I learned to meditate, which was 1967, it was before the Beatles, although it was only a few weeks before the Beatles, actually. I learned on August 7th of 1967, and the Beatles learned to meditate on August 25th. They had met Maharishi on August 24th, and then the next day they traveled up to Bangor, North Wales with him, where he was giving a 10-day retreat, and they learned meditation on the retreat. They were intending to stay 10 days, but unfortunately they only stayed 2 days because their business manager, Brian Epstein, died on August 27th. So that initial time was cut short, but then they did return and spend time with Maharishi in Rishikesh, India, which is where his ashram was at the time. So, no, I didn't know that Maharishi was going to become so famous or that the Beatles were going to get involved. I just wanted to learn meditation because that's what we were seeking. It was really in this counterculture. I was very much a part of that counterculture in the San Francisco Bay Area. And that was the summer of love, 1967, when I learned TM.
1967 was the year that Montreal hosted Expo 67, of which I spent my summer at Expo. And, those were the truly good days. When we look back in time to the 60s, 61, 62, right up to 67, they were so formative for so many people. And like I've said this before, Susan, and I'm going to say it again, the hippies started the entire movement that we're seeing today. And,
absolutely,
they had the right message. Love, not war. We should have learned that lesson by now. But, humans
really,
being
make
the way
love,
we are.
not war, yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Laura and I went to a Beatles concert that was held by the Hamilton Philharmonic Orchestra last week. And it was funny. The conductor said that preparing for the concert, he did some research into the Beatles. And it was one of the biggest mysteries of all time, who the Fool on the Hill was in the song Fool on the Hill that Paul McCartney wrote with John Lennon. And it turns out that the Fool on the Hill was about the Maharishi. Because
that's correct.
People think that he was a fool on a hill when he was a very wise, solid, caring, loving man.
Exactly. Yeah. And Paul McCartney, who wrote that song, he said that he wrote it, he said it was about someone like Maharishi, is what he said.
Right.
And he said, and it was because Maharishi was always giggling,
Mm-hmm.
and the press called him the giggling guru. The people didn't really take him very seriously, but in fact,
All right, Susan,
he actually.
Susan, I've got to take my break. Please stand by.
Yes.
Exonation, Dr. Susan Shumsky is our special guest this hour. 2 websites, DOCTOR Susan.org, that's drsusan.org, and divinetravels.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Dr. Susan Shumsky and I return on the other side of this break. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. Dr. Susan Shumsky is my guest this hour. Her website is drsusan.org and divinetravels.com. Susan, before we went to the commercial break, we were talking about the Beatles, the Maharishi, and you've got a new book out that kind of works very well in what we were talking about.
Actually, you're right. My latest book is called Maharishi and Me, Seeking Enlightenment with the Beatles Guru, and it's my memoir about my time, my 22 years that I spent in the ashrams of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and 6 years on his personal staff. And also, the book reveals many secrets about the Beatles in India and the song lyrics that they wrote under Maharishi's influence and their entire history with Maharishi. And so it's a fascinating book and has a lot of celebrities in it.
What was it like working in the ashram for 7 years?
Well, you know what? It was a combination heaven and hell. It was a pure heaven when I was close to Maharishi and when he was putting his attention on me.
Right.
People don't really realize this, but someone who's an enlightened spiritual master, they have this incredible energy field around them, and you feel like you're being loved very deeply, more loved than you've ever been in your entire life, more love than you could ever even imagine, actually, was what it was like being with him. And he transmitted this kind of spiritual energy and love energy through his eyes when he would look at you, when he would place his attention on you. So when we were on staff, we were all competing to get close to him because we wanted to have that experience. So we were like fighting each other to get into his room. And so it was a combination of heaven and hell. It was extremely emotionally intense. It was like a very intense roller coaster ride, extremes of emotions back and forth. Heaven when he was placing his attention on me. Hell when he would ignore me or when he would disapprove of something I did or criticize me.
Right.
And it was very difficult, actually, to live with him and work for him. It was not an easy thing. It was extremely intense.
Why did so many people on the outside, and those who weren't in the know like you and I were back then, and we still are, we're still in the know, aren't we, Susan? Why did other people look at the Maharishi and his way of looking at the world as if he had 3 heads, 14 arms, and 16 legs?
Well, back when he first came to the West in 1959, there was no meditation, there was no mantra, there was no yoga. Within 10 years, with a little help from his friends, the Beatles, Maharishi made these into household words. So people did not know about any of this stuff, and so it was extremely exotic and foreign at the time. But now meditation is very popular, and so many people are practicing it. In fact, 14% of the entire population of the United States, anyway, claim that they meditate. That's a huge percentage. So a lot of people have taken this up, even though back then it was just so weird, and people just thought he was weird. In fact, he appeared on Johnny Carson many, many times, And Johnny made him the butt of his jokes, even when he wasn't around.
Aw.
He would make fun of Maharishi.
You mentioned meditation a number of times. How would you describe what meditation is to someone who's never heard of it, if that's possible, or who's never tried it?
Really, people who have heard of it may not really know what meditation is, even though they've heard of it, or even when they practice it. Even those who practice it might not know what meditation is. Real meditation is an experience of very deep, deep relaxation of the body, stillness of the mind, inner quietude, inner peace, deep, deep relaxation, deep experience of wholeness, of oneness, of perfection. It's an experience that's hard to describe in words, but it's a very blissful experience, a very restful experience. And, when I first meditated, I had never experienced anything like that. It was so revolutionary. I had never really experienced that kind of joy, that kind of happiness that you get from meditation, and certainly had never experienced that state of unbounded awareness, which is where you feel expanded and you feel one with all, one with the all. I don't know how to describe it really, but it's a very profound experience. So that's really, if you're really meditating, that's what you'll experience. If you haven't had that experience, then you're kind of on your way to meditating, but you haven't really quite gotten there.
All right. So if somebody wants to start meditating after listening to you tonight here on the X Zone, how can they do that? How can one meditate? Now, I don't know if this is meditation, but what I do when I get home after my work day here in the studios and the offices, I will just get a glass of water and I'll sip it very slowly. And then in the living room, I shut off the lights. And I just sit there. And I can feel myself getting into a place of bliss. Is that meditation?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're experiencing a place of bliss, yes, absolutely. That is meditation. That is it.
What is the physiology behind meditation? How does our body do the meditating? Or, I know that your breathing is a very important part of it. And of course, the more air you take in, the more oxygen you take in.
Yes, I recommend during meditation that people take very deep breaths.
Right.
Take a few deep breaths, not taking deep breaths the entire time. That would be hyperventilating.
Exactly.
That's not what I suggest. I do suggest that you take the deep, deep breaths because that relaxes you immediately. In fact, right now, I would ask the listeners to just experiment by taking 3 very deep breaths.
All right, let's do that.
Now.
All right, let's do that. Here's one. Here's 2.
And then 2. And 3. And when you take those deep breaths, immediately you start to settle down.
Yes.
Immediately you feel more centered, you feel more relaxed, you feel more calm. So if you do that several times during the meditation and keep asking to go deeper and deeper into the meditation, that will really help you to go deep and to experience that inner peace that is the goal of meditation. So, yeah, that's one thing I would suggest to people is the deep breaths. And another thing is to have the intention of really going into a deep state of meditation and know that you're safe, that nothing bad is going to happen when you meditate. You're not going to grow another eyeball or anything like that.
Oh, come on. I was looking forward to something exciting to happen.
You're just going to experience some inner pleasantness and inner peace, and that is what really we're looking for.
But doesn't meditation tune your third eye?
Yes, in fact, meditation will awaken your third eye. Your third eye is seated in the pineal gland,
right?
And it is it's the eye of wisdom, the eye of illumination. it helps you to expand your consciousness, helps you to achieve higher states of consciousness, and also helps you develop supersensory perception or subtle sensory perception, however you want to call it. So those are some of the benefits of awakening the third eye, and that's also a part of meditation. In fact, I wrote a book called Awaken Your Third Eye, and I wrote another book that's coming out, I don't know, maybe the beginning next year. I'm not sure exactly when it'll come out, but it's called Third Eye Meditation.
Ooh.
And that is a book of guided meditations that you can practice.
You know, it's funny, we were talking about growing a third eye, and that's exactly what happens when you meditate.
It is,
and you don't, and there's many people who are probably saying, well, what's this third eye all about, you know? And that's exactly what we're doing when we meditate, is opening up that third eye as well.
Yes, yes.
So you do grow three eyes.
True. Pardon me?
I said you do grow three eyes.
Yes, you do. You do grow a third eye, in a sense. Yeah, you do.
What else can meditation... Oh, you know what? We've got a commercial break coming up here, and I don't want to start getting into the conversation, because then I'll have to say, Susan, we've got to take our break here, but just stay with us for a few more moments here, Susan. Exonation, our very special guest this hour is Dr. Susan Shumsky. Now, if you'd like to contact Dr. Shumsky, or if you'd like to find out more about her books, all you need to do is go online to www.drsusan.org. And doctor is the entire word, DOCTORSUSAN.org, as well as divinetravels.com. We're also going to be speaking to Dr. Shumsky about something very interesting, a UFO cruise. All this and more this hour here in the X Zone with my special guest, Dr. Susan Shumsky, as we continue broadcasting around the world right here from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. Dr. Susan Shumsky is our special guest. Her website is drsusan.org. And once again, doctor is spelled out DOCTOR and then susan.org. And divinetravels.com. Speaking about Divine Travels, tell us about this UFO cruise.
Yeah, the UFO cruise coming up October 6th to the 13th of 2019. That's coming up in a few months here. And that'll be sailing from San Diego to the Mexican Riviera. That means Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, and Cabo San Lucas.
And they are beautiful locations.
Famous UFO investigators and really UFO stars that are coming on this cruise. And UFOcruise.com, UFOcruise.com.
Can you tell us who some of the researchers are that are going to be participating in your cruise?
Yeah, we have James Gilliland.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jan Harzan, who's the head of MUFON for the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
We have Richard Dolan. We have Michael Tellinger. We have J.J. Hurtak. And probably we're also going to have Giorgio Tsoukalos. So these are some of the amazing presenters. There's a lot more, by the way. You can see all of the presenters and their bios and everything at UFOcruise.com. Stanton Friedman also will be there.
Oh, good old Uncle Stan.
Yeah, Stanton Friedman is the most renowned ufologist in the world, really.
And
he's the one that wrote about the Roswell incident, you know.
And that's at www.ufocruise.com, right?
Yes, it is.
All right, we'll have to keep letting our listeners know about this. Now, where can people buy tickets to the cruise?
That's where, at UFOcruise.com. You just go there and you click on the registration,
Mm-hmm.
and you sign up right there.
And the rest is history.
Absolutely.
Well, how did you get interested in UFOs, Susan?
You know what? I do all kinds of holistic themed cruises.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the cruises I've done are like intuition cruise, shamanism kind of cruises,
Right.
just general cruise into spirit. I've done ancient mysteries cruises. I'm interested in all things paranormal, all things metaphysical. So, I've done already 17 cruises.
My goodness.
With various themes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I thought, well, UFO cruise, that sounds fascinating. Let's do that. I'm not an expert, certainly, in UFOs at all, but, for me, it'll be
Sure.
a learning experience. I even did a conspiracy cruise, by the way, at one point, too.
It's interesting because you're going down the Pacific side of Mexico.
Yes.
And there have been a lot of UFO sightings around there, especially when it relates to the Mayans and the Aztecs.
Yeah, this is what
Yeah.
I'm told, Like I say, I'm not an expert in this, but I'm really fascinated to learn more. So I'm excited about the cruise, about attending the workshops on the cruise
Wow.
myself, even though I'm the big organizer of it,
You're the big kahuna.
I'm the big kahuna, yeah.
There you go. As we say on Maui, you're the big kahuna. Exonation, our guest this hour is Dr. Susan Shumsky. Her website is drsusan.org, divinetravels.com. And if you'd like to participate on what I think is a great idea that Dr. Shumsky is putting together, her UFO cruise, and if you want to register, find out more about it, who some of the great speakers are, just go to www.ufocruise.com. What is your favorite aspect or your favorite topic when it comes to New Age, paranormal, parapsychology, Dr. Susan?
Probably meditation and spiritual awakening, because those are really my fields of expertise. But other things are fascinating. For example, I've written books about chakras and
Right.
auras and prayer and spiritual healing and so many things. But I haven't written about these things, but I'm very interested in these ancient mysteries and these ancient alien theories.
Oh,
and,
big time, yeah.
And, I think all of these are just fascinating topics.
These
There's
are
so much that you can absorb about these things, yeah.
and these are such exciting times because the information is available to one and all who want to learn more.
Exactly. The internet has
Yeah.
really exploded our ability to experience and to learn about anything in the universe. Really fantastic.
Now, you mentioned auras. How would you explain an aura to someone who has never heard that term before?
Right. Well, you have this gross physical body, but you also have a subtle body. And your subtle body is working in concert with your physical body to keep you alive and to keep your heart pumping and so on. And there are different sheaths of your subtle body. There is what we call the food sheath, which is called the Annamaya Kosha. The food sheath, it's called the food sheath because it's made of food, it is preserved by food, and it becomes food for something else after you're gone. So that is why it's called the food sheath. And that's your physical body. Then you have a subtler body called your pranamaya kosha, or your energy body, your vital body. And that is made of life force energy. In India, they call it prana. In China, they call it chi. And in Japan, they call it ki. And that life force energy flowing through a specific circuits of energy called nadi, or meridian. In China, they call it meridian. In India, they call it nadi. These are conduits through which this subtle energy flows. And the chakra system, the centers of energy are in your vital body, what we call this pranic body, or your life force energy body. And these chakras are what's keeping you alive. It's maintaining your body. And then there's another subtle body. It's called the Vijnanamaya kosha, or the intellect ego body. There's also the Manomaya kosha, which is your sensory body, your mind or senses through which you experience the world. Intellect ego body is even subtler. And then you've got the what we call the bliss body, which is Anandamaya kosha, which is your causal body through which you individuate. And then there are even subtler bodies than that. So in other words, we are multidimensional beings living in several bodies at the same time and living on several planes of existence at the same time. So we're not just this physical body. And even our senses are not in the physical body. They're in a subtle area called the Manomaya kosha. So when you die, you still have your senses intact. The body drops off, but the rest of your subtle body still exists. So that's why people who describe near-death experiences, it's because they are still using their senses, which are not in the body. In other words, even though you don't have any eyes anymore, you don't have any ears anymore, yet you hear people who have near-death experiences. They can see, they can hear, they can experience through the senses, and they can see their own body lying on the gurney as they're somewhere up on the ceiling looking down. Well, guess what? That's because your senses are not just in your physical body. So you have this subtle body, and that's what we call the aura. The aura or auric field is a combination of all these subtle bodies mixed together. That's what we call the aura.
Is the aura what the artists of the golden days or the masters, when they would paint religious figures, they would paint a halo? Does this...
Exactly.
That's what it is. It's just it's a representation of the person's auric field.
That's correct.
Ah.
The halo. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's the light, because our subtle body is made of light. Yes.
Do you believe, or is it possible that heaven and hell are real?
Heaven and hell are things that we create in our own mind.
I see.
We live right now in either heaven or we live in hell. I think we all know what hell is, and we know what heaven is.
That's true. My dad...
We experience it day by day.
My dad, God bless him, has a saying, hell is here on earth.
Well, and so is heaven.
Exactly. You and I have to take a commercial break in about 30 seconds, Susan. Can somebody actually increase their aura, the strength of the aura?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In my book, The Power of Auras, I give you many, many exercises for increasing your energy field, and that increases your charisma, and it gives you more sex appeal.
All right,
more
hold on.
Magnetic attraction.
Hold on right there. Sex is what we're going to talk about when we come back from this commercial break. Exonation, our guest this hour is Dr. Susan Shumsky. Her website is www.drsusan.org. Another website to check out, divinetravels.com. And here's my favorite, ufocruise.com. Susan and I will be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, X Zone Nation, the X Zone TV channel is going to be on iLaunch TV throughout the United States and Comcast throughout the United States later on this month. We're already on Simul TV, and people can watch us now in Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, let me see where else, Africa, United Arab Emirates, Japan, Brazil. We're all over the place. Go figure. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. As I was saying, our guest this hour is Dr. Susan Shumsky. Her website is drsusan.org, and that's DOCTORSUSAN.org. DivineTravels.com and UFOcruise.com. First of all, Susan, great having you with us. I've had the pleasure of talking to you a number of times over the 29 years that this show has been on air. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us.
No, it's really my pleasure to speak with you. I always love coming on your show, Rob.
Well, I thank you for that, Susan. Your book, Maharishi and Me. Let's talk more about that, because to me that sounds like a bit of a personal biography. I understand that you worked in the ashram with the Maharishi for 7 years, but wasn't there a time where you were just one of his followers for so many years?
Yes, I mean, I was a follower of Maharishi for over 2 decades.
Wow.
And lived in his various ashrams for those 2 decades. And it was an amazing experience to study meditation so deeply and to be so involved with Maharishi and to, really get a insider's view of what it's really like to live with a spiritual master from India.
When somebody thinks of the Maharishi, they that image of the Maharishi with the Beatles comes to mind. What is the story behind the story about the Maharishi? Where and when did his spiritual journey start? And why did it start?
Yeah, well, Maharishi himself, he was a traditional Hindu in India, and he was very keen on visiting various saints, and he met this one saint that became his teacher. His name was Brahmananda Saraswati, and he was a great religious leader of India. He ended up being one of the 4 main religious leaders in India, and Maharishi was a secretary. He actually worked on his staff. He wasn't really, he was not a Brahmin. So in other words, his caste, he had a lower caste. He was born into a lower caste. So he was never able to actually become what they call a Swami, or to actually be initiated into the Shankaracharya order or anything like that. So he was just a secretary, and he worked in the ashram and did various tasks, and that's the way he got to be close to his master. And, so he really chose that religious life. He chose to become a disciple of a great spiritual master, and then ended up really coming to the West to spread meditation to the West, because people in the West really, they didn't have a clue. They didn't know what meditation was. So Maharishi brought that to the West and popularized it, and he was extremely famous in the 1970s. He was on the cover of every magazine, and he was on all these shows on television. So he was very well known, but I got into meditation before that time, before he became famous.
What were some of your duties in the ashram?
Oh boy, I did everything from, he called me Susan the artist. So I was painting paintings and doing illustrations of the books that he was publishing, and I did that. And then I also worked as in accounts. I did bookkeeping, took care of the cash box and things like that. I also collected course fees for these huge courses we were doing in Europe, and also I was a hotel manager for this huge hotel in Interlaken, Switzerland, which is called the Victoria Jungfrau Hotel. I mean, if you go online and you see this hotel, you wouldn't believe it. Me as a young girl, there I was, the hotel manager for all these people who came on the courses there. So that was another task I did, and I also did editing. I had a facility for editing, so I was editing various publications. I also did graphic arts.
My goodness.
So many things, and so many skills I actually learned in the ashram, strangely. It was quite an adventure. And I was in Europe that whole time that I was with Maharishi on his staff. I was in Europe.
Many people think of India as a poor country for some reason or another. Why do you think such a religious culture or philosophy started in India?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, why it started in India, I have no idea why it started there, but certainly India is where the greatest wisdom and greatest knowledge came from that has spread throughout the entire world. I mean, for example, mathematics and every possible subject, philosophy, all the great wisdom of the ages comes from India. I mean, it all gets traced back to India, it seems.
I thought
so
philosophy.
The great sages of the Himalayas. So
I was just going to say,
yes?
I thought philosophy came from Plato.
Oh, long before that.
Really?
Plato is very modern compared to the ancient wisdom of India. The ancient scriptures of India are way before Plato.
What is the difference?
Way.
What is the difference between the ancient scriptures of India and let's just take the Bible, for example?
Mm-hmm. Well, the reality is that all the scriptures all over the world are really saying the same things. It's not like there's such a huge division or difference between the various philosophies in the world. They all really, it's like the perennial philosophy. It's really the same philosophy. If you go deep into reading these scriptures all over the world, you're going to find the same themes over and over and the same truths, because truth is truth is truth.
Yes.
That's reality. Truth is truth. So, but the ancient scriptures really come from India, and probably the most ancient religion would be the ancient Vedic religion of India.
Why are cows sacred in India?
That's a really interesting question, and strangely, I know the answer.
That's why I asked you, because I figured you would.
Cows are sacred in India because in India, people believe in reincarnation, and they also believe that cows, that certain animals become humans in their next life. And different animals become different castes. Caste means a level of society.
Right.
For example, there's the priestly class, which is the Brahmin class. There's the warrior caste, and there's a caste of people who are more servants. So there's this whole caste system in India. And in India, it's believed that cows become Brahmins. They become the priestly caste. So a cow is going to reincarnate as a priestly caste if the cow is not slaughtered. If a cow dies a natural death, it will become a priestly person. It will become a human being in its next life, and a person of this highest caste, which is Brahmin caste. So that's why they call them Brahmin bulls, by the way. And that's the reason why they believe that cows are sacred. And there's a lot of cows hanging out in India, just kind of blocking the roads and so on. They just wander about.
So I would imagine there's no McDonald's anywhere around.
Oh, yeah, they do
really?
have McDonald's in India.
Oh.
India is not entirely a Hindu country. It's also a Muslim country, and Muslims eat meat.
Yeah. It must be hard for all the cultures, because I know the Hindu and the Muslim faith, they're not exactly identical, and there must be times when one rubs the other the wrong way.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a whole history of that in the 20th century, and that's the reason why Gandhi, got killed, is because of the clash between the Hindus and the Muslims, and Gandhi was trying to bridge that gap and try to heal those relations between the Hindus and the Muslims. That was one of the main missions of his life, was doing that. Yeah. And he believed in nonviolence.
In my opinion, Gandhi was one of the greatest men to ever live.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the father of India. and he is the man who single-handedly really helped India become a independent nation, independent from England. So,
Susan, the time has come when
great things.
Susan, the time has come that you and I must say so long, but I want to thank you ever so much for joining us, and I look forward to the next time you join us back here in the X Zone.
I always love to come, and I'd be very pleased to come back anytime, Rob. Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, Dr. Susan, take care of yourself. And X Zone Nation, if you'd like to get more information about Dr. Susan, her website is drsusan.org. And then you can also check out divinetravels.com. And, of course, my favorite, ufocruise.com. I'll be back on the other side of the news with this break, after the news with a break, at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, the X Chronicles newspaper is available with our compliments at www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. And as of about 20 minutes ago, Craig tells me over 10,000 cities around the world are where the X Chronicles newspaper is read online or downloaded, and yet there's another 37,000 cities that we can't identify through our tracking system. We're getting out there, thanks to you, the X Zone Nation. I'll be back. Don't go away.